Hey, this is Coach Jeff Faris. I'm the head coach at Austin Peay, and this is the No Playbook Podcast.
All right. Thanks so much for checking out the show. It's the podcast featuring real recruiting stories. My name's Casey, and I really like spotlighting these outstanding athletes, coaches, and experts, all from the Southeast. Kind of started out just having some folks from East Tennessee, but really now kind of expanding into the whole Southeast. So happy to have Coach Jeff Faris on the podcast today, the head football coach at Austin Peay State University. If you like that coach's perspective, I've had Tony Vitello on the show, of course, head baseball coach at University of Tennessee. I had the Maryville College head football coach, Rusty Wright from the University of Chattanooga on the show. Brooks Savage, the head basketball coach at ETSU. Even had a JUCO soccer coach, Mariana Diaz from Pellissippi State University, Community College. So I really like having them on to kind of talk about what athletes and their parents can expect as they enter the recruiting process. So that's exactly what we talk about with Coach Faris today on the show. This episode is sponsored by Stinnett Collision with locations in Sevier County and in Maryville. I'll get to Coach Jeff Faris right after this. Sit tight.
Hi, I'm Zach Stinnett, third-generation owner of Stinnett Collision. As a proud supporter of Tennessee athletics, we know that every game counts. When a collision puts you out of play, we're here to get you back in the game. Family-owned since 1965, Stinnett Collision now has locations in Maryville and Sevierville. With double the space and a team of certified technicians, we'll tackle your repairs and get you back on the road in no time. Don't let a collision sideline you. Visit Stinnett Collision today.
Honored to be a part of the podcast.
Yeah. First of all, and I think this is more important than anything that we could talk about, is you spent so much time in kind of the eastern part of North Carolina. And that's where I grew up, a town called Wilson, just east of the Raleigh-Durham area.
One of my best friends, who's in my wedding, and I was in his, Raekwon Boyette, who is a Wilson native.
Yeah. So tell me, do you miss the barbecue?
You know what? What is the place in Wilson? He'd always bring it to us when we went recruiting. Say the name.
Parker's.
Yep, that's it. Okay. He'd always bring it, like every time we go spring recruiting, we'd all come back for whatever it was, a visit or something like that, junior day. He'd always bring it back. I love North Carolina barbecue. I don't know if you remember Smithfield Barbecue, the chain. I think they got the best sweet tea in the game, and their hush puppies are unreal. Went to a lot of concerts in Raleigh, and we'd tailgate with Smithfield Barbecue, the chicken and the barbecue with the coleslaw on top. But I got to say, man, like the food in Clarksville, Tennessee is pretty unbelievable. And I'm probably more of a sweet barbecue fan than I am vinegar-based fan.
Okay. It is very different, but the folks that love it definitely love it.
Yeah, and if you're raised on that, I'm from East Tennessee, so I was not raised that way. But no, it's very, very good. And I haven't spent much time because we left North Carolina, went to Los Angeles, now back in Clarksville. I've not spent a ton of time in the state of North Carolina, but when I do go back, I will go to Smithfield Barbecue with a large sweet tea, some fried chicken, and a barbecue sandwich.
Got to do it. You got to do it.
Got to.
What was that like going from North Carolina at Duke heading out to UCLA? Was that a culture shock?
Definitely different culture. It was an unbelievable experience. As a young coach, to be able to work for and with both Coach Cutt and Coach Kelly, Galley. I don't know if there's a more fortunate person in the world. But yeah, obviously North Carolina is different than Los Angeles. Both me and my wife are from East Tennessee. And I think that, we're probably the two furthest people from LA people, but we loved our time out there. The people were great to us, the weather, the people, the things to see, the experience. We learned a ton. And I don't think we would trade our time in Los Angeles for anything. We were not looking to leave. We actually had a conversation probably a month prior to us coming to Clarksville that, man, we could do this for a long time, even with, two children that were born at UCLA. And then also this came open. And this was just a dream opportunity. For a lot of reasons. One, how great of a university Austin Peay is, the leadership structure here with Dr. Licari, but then a chance to also be back home. And it's been unbelievable. And we're so happy we're here.
Well, now it is your second year as a head coach. Did you approach this season any differently than you did your first year?
Yes, I think you kind of have to for a lot of reasons. We always want to adapt and grow. And if we're doing the same thing here in 10 years that we're doing now, shame on us. We always want to grow and get better, but it's just a different landscape in college football. You look at when we took this job, the portal was open and the whole team was gone. And then you had to sign a high school class at the end of December. So you're recruiting your current kids, portal kids who had already been recruited, because the day before my interview, I visited a kid at Notre Dame for UCLA. and then signing the high school kids along with that. We were able to retain a nucleus of great kids, and that's why we're playing well right now, and then add to that. So, we built it from scratch. We built a culture in year one. We were 3 years away from winning the league with a pretty non-competitive roster in a lot of spots. And now, we're a lot further along because of that. And we will never sacrifice on culture. But, I learned from Coach Kelly, I thought it was awesome. It's my first summer there. And Coach Kelly is like reevaluating everything that he does with his high school camps, from the registration lines and how we height and weight. And I'm like, man, this guy's a no doubt Hall of Famer. Okay. Think of the amazing games he's won, all the things he's done, the players he's mentored. And he's obsessed with a summer high school camp and making it the best possible way it could be. Like, I can learn something from this. And Coach Cut was the same way, always studying himself and ways to improve and practice schedule, everything, from the way we recruited and evaluated players. And, I hope that we can stay true to that here.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So just personally, in your own coaching style and kind of learning as you go, is there anything that you really feel like you learned from the first season that you like a new system?
100 things. Great question. 100 things, and what I told myself is we were so close, even with, in a lot of ways, starting quarterback gets hurt the first game he's out for the season. We learned a lot about ourselves. And I just told myself, hey, you're going to make a million mistakes every year, as I did as an assistant coach and as an offensive coordinator. If I could just make my next million mistakes not be repeated mistakes, we're going to win. And, one thing I've done, I've hired great people around me who are much more intelligent than I am. But I trust these people because they're great people, unbelievable relationship builders and football coaches. And I think in year two, I have leaned on those guys more, and I think it's really, really helped us. And I can't say enough great things about our staff, and it's really a family. And we love what we do every day, and I think it shows with how hard our players play.
Yeah. Did you know you wanted to be a coach even when you're a college player?
Yes, from a very, very young age. I'll never forget, one of my biggest mentors is a guy now by the name of Coach Jake Harrison. And Coach Jake Harrison is actually a surgeon and has his medical, he's a doctor. And I'm a little league baseball player. I'm not very good. And, he's teaching. I can't hit. So he's like, maybe you should try the other side of the plate. I wasn't much better at this age on either side of the plate. It wasn't the swing or the stance. And I just remember, he wanted us to call him coach. And then we would go to barbecues, go to his house, and grew up with his children, and they're my best friends. And people would call him Dr. Jake. He said, no, I'm coach. And that's made an impression with me. Like, everybody else in the world wants to be called doctor. They work so hard. They paid their dues. It's a tremendous compliment to be called a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, He'd rather be called coach. There must be something to this. And then the impact he has had on me from then to now, golly, if I could have maybe 1/10 that impact on any other young person, that'd be a life worth living. And then you look at not just Coach Jake, but Coach Cut, Coach Kelly, all the people in my life. Coach Quarles has that impact on me right now. Our game's under attack by a lot of people, say it's changing. And it is. It's changing. It is still an unbelievable profession. We still get to coach football and build relationships. And I'm having a ton of fun.
Yeah. I wonder with Coach Quarles, because I'm a Maryville High School guy. And so we've followed him for many, many years. I wonder if I'm sure he learned a lot of lessons with his time at ETSU. Are you able to benefit from any of that?
I benefit from Coach Quarles every day, whether it's ETSU, Maryville, Furman, his wife, Leslie, Jack or Bo. I mean, every good decision that I make is probably coming from Coach Quarles. He's unbelievable. And he's kind of become an older brother to our entire staff. But yeah, and he's the absolute best. And I can't put a value or express enough how grateful I am to be able to walk into his office. Hey, GQ, what do you think about this, man? And to get his perspective and his expertise. And I also say this, I don't think there's a more humble individual in the world than Coach Quarles. I remember, growing up in East Tennessee, like, he walks on water. And every kid wants to play for Coach Quarles at Maryville. And the first time I actually met him, I go into the school, I'm recruiting at Duke, and I'm like, this can't be the guy. Like, this guy's won this many games, this many champions. Like, he can't be this nice. It's got to be an act. Like, so we'll see, whatever. Keep going into this. It's the same guy. And then, built a really strong relationship prior to coming to Austin Peay. And dadgummit, he's the same dude. And I just knew if I ever got an opportunity, I wanted great people like that to be around our players. And as impressed as I was prior to working with him every day, he's blown me away 100-fold.
Great. Love to hear that. Always rooting for GQ. So we have a lot of discussions with athletes and coaches about recruiting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on recruits. Like, what are things that stand out to you, and even some red flags?
Yeah, the most important thing to us, and I think, year one to year two, year one, you had to fill the whole team. So we want to be as selective as humanly possible. We had to fill the team. Year two, we kept a nucleus so we could, if we weren't going to get a whole team, we could be a little bit more selective. The one thing that we talked about after our last game last season was we were not going to miss on football character. A kid could be an inch too short. He could, maybe 10 pounds underweight, but we were only going to take guys that love football. Our staff is too passionate. Our nucleus of players is too passionate about this game to waste time with people that don't love it, because football is hard. And if you do not love it, if you view it as a job, it's not something that you love to do, you'll never grow and get better at it. So my biggest thing in recruiting, they have to have the translatable skills to be able to play Austin Peay and help us win championships. As long as they have that, if they do not have football character, I'm on. There's enough good players that love it that we can sign them. And I think the best thing, I've learned this under Coach Cut, you identify the ones that you want, and then I would rather de-recruit them on the visit and let them know, like, I'm not going to kiss your tail. When you get here, we're going to work harder than you've ever worked. Nothing is guaranteed. But what I can promise you this is we're going to build young men and we're going to build a championship team. And what you find out is you scare off the wrong kind of kids and you attract the right kind of kids. But I'd rather know before I'm stuck with you, because that's just miserable, right? You're the best player that's ever played. I think you're going to be a first-round draft pick, and then you come and, oh, shoot, this isn't the same Coach Faris that recruited me. He told me I was going to be a first-round draft pick. And then the kid's miserable, I'm miserable, and he doesn't get any better. I've heard of coaches playing video games with kids. I don't play video games. I live in this office. When I'm not here, I'm with my wife and kids, who are my favorite thing in the entire world. I think when I recruit you, you should know exactly what's going to be like. I'm going to be intense every day. I'm going to push you because the best I've ever been around, we're that way. And I think that in recruiting, what I've learned as I've gotten older is the more honest you can be. Yes, we have personality. Yes, we have fun on all those things. But this is exactly what it's going to be like. You find the right fit. It is all about fit and guys that love football. And what we found is that those guys who love football and are passionate about it, they really excel in our program.
Now, with the transfer portal, you mentioned that. Is there any kind of, like, do you lean, we got to get this percentage of portal and this percentage of high school, or how do you approach that balance?
Great. I think you have to sign high school players. I think if I wasn't in the state of Tennessee, if I was in some state in the Pacific Northwest, maybe I wouldn't feel as passionately about that. But growing up in this state, football is important. And we got really, really good football. The way that this state has grown, I think now some group of 5 schools have gotten lazy high school recruiting, and we can get a higher caliber kid that maybe we couldn't have got 5 years ago. I think it's important to always grow your offensive and defensive lines from the high school ranks. That was one of the initial challenges we had here, because the young crop at some of those positions wasn't very good, and you can't flip that overnight. What we want to do is sign a bunch of high school O-line, D-linemen, and then what happens not in 1 year, but in 2 years, 3 years, those kids have been in our program. They've worked with Justin Klett, our strength coach, Maryville football grad. They've eaten in the dining hall, and in 3 years, you blink, right? Where'd they get this kid from? And he's starting for us at tackle. If you go to the portal every year and you say we're going to take 10 of each side of the ball, one, they're overpriced. The big bodies are hard to find. And I think you're going to strike out a lot of times. And, a guy 1 year in your system is not going to be as good as a kid who's been in there 3 years and knows all the terminology and all the calls and can go out there and play without thinking. So I think signing high school players is paramount. I think it's a great way to build your culture and a little bit of roster stability in an era where there's not much of it. And then plug and playing the right transfers. But I'm a huge fan of the portal. I think we're in the position we're in right now because we did a great job in the portal. I would tell you, year one, the kids that we signed, the FBS kids that we signed, they did not love football. It's not their fault. Not all of them, but some of them, okay? For the most part, we had more success with Division II and FCS players. This year, we've had more success maybe with the FBS players in taking the right ones. And I think our staff did a great job of being selective and asking the right questions and bringing the right ones on campus.
Great. Very interesting. The way those kind of players, you can feel their passion, and they're the ones that are going to turn into something special for you.
Yeah, I think if you ask the right questions that are open-ended, you can get the answers. I think sometimes as recruiters, we don't ask the right questions to truly find out the truth. And that was something that Coach Cutt always talked about, the way that you ask questions and talk to high school coaches and all those things. If you work at it hard enough, you'll have a pretty good idea. No one's foolproof, but our staff is very, very thorough and does a tremendous job.
How about a very proactive, very aggressive player that's trying to get their name out there? How do you prefer to be contacted with them or even connect with them initially?
Yeah, we prefer to do so. If it's a high school player, we love when they're proactive and they're aggressive and they want to come to Austin Peay. That's awesome. We love to see those kids in camp because I want to see if the kid loves football or not. That's important to me. And then the one thing we have to assess when a kid is aggressive is, do they love recruiting or do they love football? Some kids like recruiting and gaining offers and going on visits, but they don't love football. So if you're going to, hey, Coach Faris, I want to come play Austin Peay, great. First call, making sure you're a high school football coach. And I've recruited the state long enough where I'm going to know most of them. If I don't know them, GQ does, or Shane Tucker, our receivers coach, he does. We got East and West Tennessee covered. And if he doesn't say that he loves it, we're probably going to move on. And, character references are big for us. We're communicating cell phone, email, Twitter. I don't know if there is a best way. I'm probably better at text. I'm not the best at checking the Instagram and the Twitter. But that's probably the best way to contact me. And, I think, being the best player on your high school team is still the best way to be recruited.
That's good to hear. I like to hear that. So now something everybody gets on the show, I want to hear an unforgettable sports memory for you. It could be when you're a player, a high schooler, a coach, something when you're 80 years old, you think you can close your eyes and picture perfectly.
Golly. Have had a bunch of them. We had a lot of special moments at Knox Catholic when I was a player. My time at Duke, I got to witness Coach Cutt turn around maybe the worst football program in the country into an ACC Coastal champion. That was pretty special. And then playing Florida State in the ACC championship game in Charlotte. Unfortunately, one that first comes to mind is the Miami game where we're down 13, score 2 touchdowns, go up, we score 15 points in the fourth quarter, and then the kickoff and Corn Elder returns it for a touchdown after there was 15 penalties and the knee was down 3 times, but no one talks about that. I mean, you talk about heartbreak. That would be one of those. I think that was the year 2015. I've tried to erase that from my memory. That's one of the first ones. As a football coach, sometimes you go to those. And then here at Austin Peay, the great memories. The last year we played North Alabama, and I think Austin Smith started out 19 for 19, and our team found a way to win when we were beat up and had a lot of adversity and on the road. That's one that comes to me this year. Obviously winning at MTSU. A game that no one gave us a chance at. I think we're 15-point underdogs and end up winning by 20, and just that one meant more because of the entire offseason. I'm not sure if we lost a player on May 6th, Will Hardrick, and we've really dedicated everything we do way more than football to Will and his family. And, that's something that I'll never forget.
Now, you mentioned beating MTSU, a game nobody thought you were going to win. I'm curious, when a school like the size of Austin Peay goes into Sanford Stadium to play Georgia, what is that like? How do you get your guys prepared for a game like that?
If you're recruiting the right guys, they can't wait to go to Sanford Stadium. We'll kick off anytime, day or night. Let's do it. We'll play a doubleheader. It doesn't matter. And I think we've done that. Our guys were juiced. They were fired up. We had a goal line stand at the end of the first half. Our guys fully believed that we were going to win the game, and we really feel like we should have. In the second half, we had first and goal inside the 5-yard line. We couldn't find a way to score. It's going to be a 1-score game in the fourth quarter at Georgia. How many, ignore FCS teams, but how many group of 5 teams could say that? I think it comes to having the right people on the bus, coaches and players that are competitors. And, I think we've done a great job of that.
Absolutely. So one last question. I won't keep you much longer. What's one thing that very few people know about you?
Great question. You have to ask my wife. Golly, I'm good with all the football questions. This one's hard. I'm an avid baseball fan. I don't know if people know that. I love baseball. I don't get a chance to watch it now with the, in season, but like in the spring, I love baseball. I love going to live baseball games. A bunch of my Duke teammates every summer. It's been slowed down a little bit with the 3 kids within 18 months, but we go to a different major league ballpark, and that's some of my favorite memories.
You said 3 kids within 18 months.
Yes, our 2 twins, Jack and Eli, were born June 10th, 2023, and then Cal, like Cal Ripken, and Calvin McGee, who I worked with at Duke, who's a tremendous mentor, who's no longer with us, was born December 21st, 2024.
Wow.
So 18 year and a half.
Heck yeah. I got 3 boys, and they keep you young.
They keep us young, yes. I don't know how my wife does it. God bless Natalie Faris.
That's perfect, man. I really appreciate your time, and I think this is going to be an awesome episode.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. See you, buddy.